Hello, history buffs, and welcome back to our channel. Today, we're diving deep into the dramatic final chapter of a once mighty empire. We often talk about the rise and fall of great powers, but what about the very last person to hold the crown? Let's unravel the story of Antiochus XIII, the last king of the Seleucid Empire. Imagine an empire that once stretched from modern-day Turkey all the way to the borders of India. Founded by one of Alexander the Great's top generals, Seleucus I Nicator, the Seleucid Empire was a beacon of Hellenistic culture, power, and wealth for centuries. Its cities, like Antioch, were legendary centers of learning and commerce. But by the time our story begins, in the 1st century BC, this vast empire was a shadow of its former self. Years of internal strife, civil wars, and pressure from rising powers like Rome and Parthia had chipped away at its foundations, leaving it a fractured kingdom clinging to survival in Syria. This is the world Antiochus XIII was born into. His life wasn't one of gilded palaces and guaranteed succession. It was a desperate gamble from the very beginning. His full name was Antiochus Asiaticus, a nod to his claim over the Asian territories. His father was Antiochus X, and his mother was the fascinating and ambitious Cleopatra Selene, a Ptolemaic princess from Egypt who had married into the Seleucid line. This made young Antiochus a descendant of two of Alexander's most powerful successor dynasties, the Seleucids and the Ptolemies. On paper, his lineage was impeccable. In reality, it just put a bigger target on his back. His early life was spent on the run. The Seleucid kingdom was torn apart by competing family members all claiming the throne. After his father's death in battle, his mother, Cleopatra Selene, held onto a sliver of southern Syria, ruling as regent for her young son. But their position was precarious. The entire region was a chessboard for bigger players. Around 83 BC, the chaos became so unbearable that the citizens of Antioch, the Seleucid capital, did something drastic. They invited an outsider to rule over them. Tigranes the Great, the powerful king of Armenia. Tigranes swept in, conquered Syria, and effectively put the Seleucid Empire on ice. During this time, Cleopatra Selene and her sons, including Antiochus, fled. They sought refuge and eventually made a daring journey all the way to Rome itself. Their mission in Rome was ambitious. They went to the Roman Senate to lobby for their claims, not just to the Seleucid throne, but also to the throne of Egypt through their mother's lineage. They spent years in the heart of the Republic, presenting their case, spending their fortune, and trying to win favor with powerful Roman senators. It was a masterclass in ancient diplomacy and political maneuvering. Unfortunately for them, while the Romans acknowledged their claims, they were more interested in keeping the region destabilized for their own future benefit. After 2 years, Antiochus and his mother left Rome with little to show for their efforts, but empty pockets. The dream of a Roman-backed restoration seemed to have failed. But then, the winds of fate shifted again. The Roman general Lucullus launched a massive campaign against Tigranes the Great. As Roman legions pushed Tigranes out of Syria around 69 BC, a power vacuum was created. Lucullus, needing a local, friendly ruler to stabilize the region, decided to restore the Seleucid monarchy. And who better than the claimant who had been patiently waiting in the wings? He officially recognized Antiochus XIII as the rightful king of Syria. Just like that, after years of exile and uncertainty, Antiochus Asiaticus was finally king. He returned to Antioch, the city of his ancestors, and took the throne. For a brief moment, it must have felt like a miraculous restoration. The Seleucid eagle was flying once more over its capital. He began minting coins, a clear sign of his sovereignty. The empire, or what was left of it, was back in business, but his reign was destined to be short and troubled. The kingdom he inherited was a wreck. The countryside was plagued by instability, and a new threat was emerging from within. A rival cousin, Philip II Philorameus, also made a bid for the throne, plunging the newly restored kingdom straight back into a familiar, destructive civil war. This internal conflict was the final nail in the coffin. As Antiochus and Philip fought each other, Another far more formidable Roman general arrived in the east, Pompey the Great. Pompey was on a mission to reorganize the entire region under Roman authority. He had defeated pirates, conquered kingdoms, and he had little patience for the petty squabbles of a dying dynasty. While Antiochus was busy dealing with local threats, Pompey made his decision. He saw the constant Seleucid infighting as a source of instability that invited threats from Parthia and local Arab tribes. In his view, a weak, divided Syria was a liability to Rome's new eastern frontier. He declared that Syria would be annexed and turned into a Roman province. And what of Antiochus? His end was not in a glorious battle against a foreign invader, but was tragically anticlimactic. In 64 BC, after being deposed by Pompey, Antiochus was captured and then executed by a local Arab chieftain named Sampsiceramus. Some sources suggest the chieftain was acting on his own, while others imply he may have been encouraged by Pompey, who wanted to tie up loose ends and remove any lingering claimants to the throne. Either way, with his death, the line of Seleucus, which had ruled for nearly 250 years, came to an unceremonious end. There was no grand finale, no epic last stand. The last king of the Seleucids was simply swept aside as a minor obstacle in Rome's inexorable march to empire. Pompey didn't even consider Antiochus's rival Philip as a successor. The game was over. The story of Antiochus XIII is a poignant epilogue to a great imperial saga. He was a man defined not by his own actions, but by the colossal forces of history moving around him. He was a pawn in the games of Tigranes, Lucullus, and Pompey. His life is a powerful reminder that history is often shaped by powers far greater than the individuals caught in its tide. The once great Seleucid Empire didn't go out with a bang, but with the quiet, tragic whisper of its last forgotten king. What do you think? Is this a fitting end for such a historic empire? Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. Thanks so much for watching, and if you enjoyed this journey into the past, please hit that like button and subscribe for more deep dives into history. We'll see you in the next video.